It was a cold evening when Ethan heard the knock on their cabin door. Out there, in the middle of the forest, no one ever visited. The sound was slow, heavy, almost uncertain, like someone wasn't used to knocking at all. Ethan glanced at his blind sister, Lily, who sat by the window humming softly. She couldn't see the worry in his eyes, but she could sense it from the silence that followed. Ethan opened the door slowly. A tall figure stood outside, drenched in rain. His skin seemed unusually pale, his eyes faintly glowing beneath the hood of his coat. For a second, Ethan thought it was just a trick of the light, until the man spoke. "Sorry," the stranger said in a deep, careful voice. "I need a place to stay. My vehicle broke down nearby." Ethan studied him closely. The man didn't shiver in the cold. His breath didn't mist in the freezing air. Something about him felt off. But Lily, hearing the stranger's soft tone, smiled warmly. "Of course," she said, turning her head toward the sound. "You can come in." The man stepped inside. Water dripped from his coat, yet the floor beneath him stayed strangely dry. Ethan didn't like it. Not one bit. The stranger introduced himself as Eric. He spoke with odd pauses, like someone trying to choose the right word in a language he barely knew. His gaze often drifted toward the ceiling, as if listening to something far away. Lily, though, was charmed. She asked him questions: where he came from, what he did, what kind of vehicle he meant. Eric hesitated often. He said he was a traveler, passing through on a research mission. Ethan noticed how his eyes glowed faintly whenever lightning flashed outside. Later that night, Ethan found Eric outside, staring up at the sky. No umbrella. No coat. Just standing in the pouring rain, looking at the stars. "What are you doing out here?" Ethan asked. Eric didn't turn around. "Listening," he murmured. "The stars, they sound different here." Ethan frowned. "Stars don't make sounds." Eric turned then, smiling faintly. "Don't they?" When Ethan went back inside, Lily was still smiling. "He's kind, Ethan," she said. "I can feel it." But Ethan couldn't shake the chill in his bones. The man's shadow on the wall had looked wrong. Longer, sharper, like it didn't quite belong to a human. That night, Ethan stayed awake, pretending to sleep. Around midnight, he heard faint whispers, metallic tones coming from the guest room. He crept closer. The door was half open. Eric stood in front of the mirror, his hood down, his reflection flickering like static on a broken screen. His skin shimmered with faint silver light, and his eyes, glowing bright blue, had no pupils at all. Ethan gasped softly, stepping back. Eric turned sharply, and for a moment, their eyes met. Then the light vanished, and Eric looked perfectly human again. "Couldn't sleep?" Eric asked calmly. Ethan swallowed hard. "Yeah, just checking if you're okay." Eric smiled, almost knowingly. "I'm fine. Good night, Ethan." Ethan didn't sleep that night. He sat by Lily's room, guarding her door, listening to the strange hum that came from Eric's room every few minutes, like a heartbeat made of metal. Morning came quietly. Eric made breakfast, acting completely normal. He was even kind to Lily, gentle, patient, helping her move around without making her feel helpless. For the first time in years, Ethan saw his sister laugh again. That scared him more than anything. Because Ethan knew kindness could be the most dangerous disguise of all. When Eric said he would stay for a few more days to repair his vehicle, Lily insisted he stay longer. Ethan had no choice but to agree. But as he watched Eric's reflection in the kitchen window, glitching for a split second, he knew something terrible was coming. That night, when everyone slept, Ethan followed the faint blue light coming from the woods. He found Eric standing by a strange metallic object half buried in the ground. It pulsed with energy, symbols glowing on its surface. Ethan raised his phone to record, but before he could, Eric turned. His eyes glowed bright again. "You shouldn't have followed me," Eric said softly. Ethan froze, heart pounding. "Who are you?" he whispered. Eric's lips curved into a sad smile. Someone who shouldn't be here. A burst of light filled the woods. Ethan shielded his eyes. Then everything went black. Ethan woke up lying on the cold ground. His head was spinning, his throat dry. The forest around him was silent, too silent. No wind, no crickets, nothing. He blinked against the pale morning light and sat up slowly. Eric was gone. The metallic object he had seen glowing last night was now covered with soil and leaves, like it had never been there at all. But Ethan remembered. The blue symbols, the hum, the voice that wasn't human. He wasn't dreaming. He stumbled back toward the cabin. The air felt heavy, and the moment he reached home, Lily was waiting at the door. "Ethan, where were you?" she cried, reaching out blindly. Her fingers trembled as she touched his face. "You didn't come back all night." Ethan hesitated. He wanted to tell her everything, the light, the strange machine, Eric's glowing eyes, but he stopped. She wouldn't believe him. She trusted Eric too much. "I just went for a walk," he said finally. "Got lost." Lily frowned. "In the middle of the night?" "Ethan, you're lying." Before he could answer, the door creaked open behind them. Eric stood there, calm as ever, holding a tray with tea and warm bread. "I was about to look for you," Eric said with a faint smile. "You shouldn't wander alone at night. The woods here are unpredictable." Ethan stared at him. There was no mark of guilt, no nervousness. Just that same calm expression. Lily turned toward the sound of Eric's voice and smiled softly. "He worries too much," she said. "But I'm glad you're both safe." Eric's gaze lingered on Ethan for a long moment, and then he nodded. "Yes, safe." That afternoon, something strange happened. Ethan noticed the clocks in the house had all stopped at exactly 3:17 a.m., the same time he'd followed Eric into the woods. The hands wouldn't move, no matter how many times he fixed them. He went to check the power box, but everything looked normal. Then he saw it, a faint blue light glowing from under Eric's room door. Ethan pressed his ear to the wood. He heard low voices, metallic, overlapping, like two people speaking through a radio signal. One voice was Eric's. The other sounded distorted, robotic. "Observation complete," it said. "Subject compatible. Vision impairment reduces threat. Continue emotional integration." Ethan's heart froze. He backed away quietly, trying not to make a sound, but the floor creaked beneath his foot. The blue light vanished instantly. The door opened. Eric stood there, holding a small device in his hand. His expression was unreadable. "Ethan," he said softly, "why are you listening outside my room?" Ethan forced a weak smile. "Just wanted to ask if you need anything." Eric studied him for a long moment. Then he smiled faintly. "No. But thank you." Ethan left quickly. His hands were shaking. Subject compatible. Emotional integration. What did that even mean? He sat by the window, watching Lily in the garden, laughing as she felt the warmth of the sun. Eric was using her for something dangerous. He had to protect her, even if she didn't believe him. That evening, Eric cooked dinner again. He moved gracefully, like he had learned how to act human by watching others. When Lily asked him about his home, he hesitated. "It's far," he said finally. "A place beyond what your eyes can see." Ethan narrowed his eyes. "You mean another country?" Eric smiled slightly. "Something like that." Lily giggled. "You speak so strange sometimes, Eric." Ethan wanted to scream, "Can't you see how weird he is?" But Lily was happy. For the first time in years, her laughter filled the cabin again. After losing her sight, she had stopped smiling like that. And now, this man, or whatever he was, brought that back. Later that night, Ethan sat outside alone, watching the stars. He kept thinking about what Eric had said, "The stars sound different here." He didn't understand it then, but now he wondered if Eric meant it literally. Maybe he wasn't from this world. Suddenly, a faint vibration shook the ground. A beam of soft blue light flashed between the trees. Ethan jumped to his feet. He ran toward it and found Eric standing again by the half-buried machine, which was now glowing brighter than before. His skin shimmered faintly, his human disguise flickering like a hologram. Ethan hid behind a tree, recording this time. He could hear Eric speaking in a language he couldn't recognize, smooth, rhythmic, echoing like metal. Then Ethan saw something that made his blood run cold. A second figure stepped out of the beam. It looked almost like Eric, but thinner, taller, with silver veins running through its body. The two beings spoke for a few seconds before the newcomer handed Eric a small metallic cube. Then it turned and dissolved into light. Eric stared at the cube in his hand, whispering something Ethan couldn't hear. Suddenly, the cube projected an image, a hologram of Lily. Ethan gasped. Eric turned sharply, eyes glowing again. "You shouldn't have followed me, again," he said, voice low and calm. Ethan stumbled back. "What are you doing with her image? What are you planning?" Eric's voice softened, almost sad. "You wouldn't understand, Ethan. She's special. Stay away from my sister," Ethan shouted. Eric looked at him for a long time. "I can't," he said quietly. "She's the reason I'm here." Before Ethan could say another word, the machine pulsed again, and a bright wave of light shot through the woods, knocking him off his feet. When he opened his eyes, Eric was gone, and the cube was glowing faintly beside him. Ethan picked it up, and it whispered Lily's name. Ethan held the glowing cube in his trembling hands. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat, blue light spreading across his fingers. When he turned it, the cube whispered again in that same strange metallic tone. "Lily," it said. "Lily, chosen." His blood went cold. He dropped the cube, but it floated gently above the ground instead of falling. Lines of silver light spread across its surface, forming shapes, eyes, stars, waves, and then the air shimmered. A small hologram appeared. It showed Lily sitting by the window, her face peaceful, smiling. She was blind, yet the image captured every movement perfectly, her touch, her smile, even the tilt of her head. Ethan watched in shock. The recording wasn't from their house. It was from somewhere else. Behind Lily in the image, strange lights moved like orbs in the sky. Then Eric's voice echoed from the cube. "She doesn't see like others do," it said softly. "But she feels more. Her mind connects to frequencies most humans can't hear. She is the one." Ethan's heart pounded. "The one for what?" he muttered. The cube flickered again, showing symbols he couldn't read, then went dark. He stood there in the silent woods, feeling the weight of something far bigger than he could understand. The wind whispered through the trees, and for a second, he thought he heard Eric's voice again, gentle, distant, almost sad. "She's the reason I came." Ethan ran back to the cabin. Lily was sitting by the fire, humming softly. When she heard his steps, she smiled. "You've been out again, haven't you? I can always tell when you're scared." He froze. "Why do you say that?" "Because your heart beats faster," she said quietly. "I can feel it when you're near." He sat down beside her and took her hand. "Lily, what do you really know about Eric?" She frowned. "He's kind. He listens when I talk. He doesn't treat me like I'm broken. He told me he came here by accident, but I think he's hiding something." Ethan sighed. "He's not human, Lily." She smiled faintly, like she'd already known. "I know." Ethan blinked. "You, what?" She turned her head toward his voice. "I can't see him, Ethan. But I can feel him. He doesn't have a heartbeat like ours. When he touches my hand, there's a vibration, soft, warm, like music. He said it's the sound of his world." Ethan stared at her, speechless. "Doesn't that scare you?" he asked. She shook her head. "No. It makes me feel alive. He told me I see the universe differently, that I'm not afraid of what others can't understand. Ethan wanted to argue, but then a sudden flash of light outside made both of them jump. He rushed to the window. A blue glow moved through the trees again, slow, pulsing. "Stay here," he said quickly. "Ethan, don't," Lily called, but he was already out the door. The forest was glowing faintly, and the cube in Ethan's pocket began to hum again. He followed the sound until he reached the clearing where Eric had been before. Eric stood there now, coat gone, his silver skin visible in the light. He looked almost human, but his veins glowed softly beneath his skin, and his eyes reflected the stars. "You shouldn't be here," Eric said quietly. "You keep saying that," Ethan snapped. "Then tell me why. What do you want with my sister?" Eric looked at him for a long time, then sighed. "Where I come from, we are connected to sound and light. We live through energy. But our world is dying. Our frequencies are fading." He stepped closer, his voice almost human now. "We searched for a mind that could hear the universe's hidden sounds, and your sister can. Even without sight, she senses things beyond your species' limits. She is the bridge." "The bridge to what?" Ethan asked. Eric's gaze turned upward. "To save us." Ethan shook his head. "You can't use her for that. She's human, not some experiment." Eric's expression softened. "You don't understand. She's not in danger. I am." "What do you mean?" Eric looked down, voice trembling. "I wasn't supposed to feel anything for her. I was only meant to observe. But she changed me. I started hearing the same music she does. It's beautiful and forbidden." For a moment, his voice cracked like static, his body flickering. He was losing his disguise again. "Your people will come for you, won't they?" Ethan said. Eric nodded slowly. "They already have." Before Ethan could react, a loud hum filled the air, a deep vibration that shook the ground. The trees bent as a massive beam of light appeared in the sky above them. Eric turned toward it, his eyes glowing brighter. "They've found me." Ethan backed away. "What will they do?" "If they see her," Eric said quietly, "they'll take her too." Ethan's breath caught. "Then we have to run." But before he could finish, the beam split the air, and a voice boomed from the light, cold, metallic, commanding. "Return, Unit Eric, 47. Your emotional corruption will be erased. Bring the chosen subject." Lily's name echoed faintly inside the cube. Ethan's heart stopped. Eric looked at the beam, then at Ethan. "Go. Take her. Don't let them find her." "What about you?" Ethan asked. Eric smiled sadly. "I'll hold them off. She can't see what's coming. But maybe that's her gift." And before Ethan could say a word, Eric stepped into the light, vanishing as the forest exploded with sound. The night Eric vanished, the forest burned with light. Ethan grabbed Lily and pulled her away from the cabin, running until the bright beam faded behind the trees. He didn't stop until they reached the old dirt road that led to town. When they finally slowed down, Lily's breathing was shaky. "Ethan, what's happening? Where's Eric?" Ethan didn't answer right away. The truth felt too heavy. "He's gone," he said quietly. "They took him." "Who?" He hesitated. "His people." Lily's lips trembled, but she didn't cry. She just turned her face upward, as if listening to the wind. "They're still here," she whispered. Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" She tilted her head slightly. "The air is humming. Can't you hear it? Like a low song coming from the sky." He listened, but all he could hear was silence and the rustle of leaves. Lily continued softly. "It's the same sound I heard the night he arrived. It's beautiful, but sad." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. "Lily, we have to get somewhere safe." They reached an old storage barn near the edge of the woods and hid inside. Ethan locked the door, lit a small lantern, and pulled the strange cube from his pocket. It glowed again when Lily came near. The cube reacted to her, whispering in that same gentle voice, "Lily, Lily." Ethan stared at it. "It's connected to you somehow. Maybe it can tell us where Eric is." Lily reached out, touching the cube lightly. The moment her fingers brushed it, the light grew brighter. She gasped. "I can see something," she whispered. Ethan's heart jumped. "You can see." "Not with my eyes," she said. "It's like pictures inside my head. I see Eric. He's surrounded by light, but he's in pain. They're trying to erase something inside him." Ethan clenched his fists. "We have to help him." Lily shook her head slowly. "He told me not to follow. And you're just going to listen?" Ethan snapped. "He saved us. He protected you." Her face turned toward him, calm but firm. "And now he's protecting me. If I go, they'll take me too. He said they need me for something." Ethan sighed, pacing. "Then we find a way to stop them before they come back." But as he spoke, the cube floated out of Lily's hand and hovered in the air. Blue light swirled around them. A soft voice spoke from the glow. It wasn't Eric's voice this time, but something colder. "Subject Lily. Your resonance is stabilizing. Extraction scheduled. Prepare for retrieval." Ethan shouted, "No. Leave her alone." He tried to grab the cube, but it burned his hand, glowing even brighter. Lily flinched. "It's inside my head, Ethan. They're calling me." Then, just as suddenly as it began, the light vanished. The cube fell to the ground, silent once more. Ethan knelt beside her. "Are you okay?" She nodded weakly. "I heard their voices. They sound like Eric, but empty. Like machines pretending to feel." He swallowed hard. "We can't stay here. They're tracking you." The next morning, they reached the edge of town. Ethan led Lily to an old mechanic shop owned by a friend, hoping to hide there for a while. But something strange was happening in the sky. Birds flew in chaotic circles, and the air shimmered faintly blue. People on the street looked up in confusion as faint humming noises echoed above. Only Lily didn't seem afraid. She tilted her head again, listening. "They're searching," she whispered. "But not for us. For him." Ethan frowned. "For Eric." "Yes. He's fighting them." Before he could respond, a blinding flash cut across the sky, followed by a rumble that shook the ground. The power went out across the entire street. Ethan grabbed Lily's arm. "We have to go." They ran behind the mechanic shop, hiding among the wrecked cars. The sky above them flickered like a broken screen. Shapes moved in the clouds, metallic, glowing faintly blue. Lily spoke softly, her voice trembling. "I can hear him." Ethan turned to her. "Eric." She nodded. "He's calling my name. He's trying to come back." "How?" Ethan asked desperately. She pressed a hand to her heart. "He told me I'm his frequency. If I listen, he'll find me." "Lily, that's crazy. They'll track you if you..." But before he could finish, the cube started humming again, louder this time. Lily reached out, her hands shaking. The light surrounded her, and a soft voice spoke from within it. "Lily, don't be afraid." Ethan froze. "That's him." The blue light formed into Eric's hologram, flickering, faint, but real. He looked weaker, his form barely holding together. "Ethan," Eric said, his voice distorted. "They're coming. You must hide her. They can't take her." "What do they want?" Ethan shouted. Eric's image flickered. "Her mind connects to the universal rhythm. She can awaken what we lost." Then his voice grew softer. "Tell her. I never wanted to lie." Lily reached toward the glowing image. "Eric, where are you?" But before she could touch him, the light collapsed. The cube cracked in half, and the sky above them thundered. A deep, metallic voice echoed from the clouds, cold, commanding. "Target located. Begin retrieval. Lily gasped. Ethan, they've found us. The sky split open. The forest was silent. The air smelled like burnt metal and rain. Ethan stood frozen beside his sister, staring at the place where Eric had vanished. Only a faint shimmer of blue light floated in the air before fading into nothing. It felt like the end of a dream, except Lily was still kneeling on the ground, whispering softly. I can still hear him, she said. Ethan put his hand on her shoulder. Lily, he's gone. Whatever that was. It's over. She shook her head. No, Ethan. You don't understand. His sound is still here. Her fingers pressed against her chest, over her heart. It's inside me now. Ethan didn't know what to say. He looked around the destroyed clearing, trees torn apart, soil still glowing faintly blue, and felt only fear. They returned to the cabin that night. Everything felt different. The air was colder, and even the shadows seemed to whisper. Ethan didn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the flash of Eric's light, his last words echoing in his mind. Maybe, in another frequency. Lily sat by the window again, humming softly. The same melody she always used to calm herself. But now it sounded different, deeper, almost electric. Ethan listened quietly. That song, you've never hummed it like that before. She smiled faintly. It's not a song, Ethan. It's a message. He frowned. From who? She turned her head toward him, her blind eyes shining faintly in the moonlight. From him. Ethan stood up, frustrated. Lily, he's gone. He sacrificed himself to save us. She didn't flinch. Then why can I still hear his heartbeat? Ethan froze. His what? She nodded. Every time I close my eyes, I hear it. Faint, but steady. Like he's somewhere, waiting. He sat down beside her slowly. You think he's alive? She tilted her head slightly, listening again. Not alive the way we are. But not gone either. He's trapped, between worlds. The next morning, strange things began to happen. The lights in the cabin flickered on and off. The clock hands spun wildly, stopping again at 3:17 a.m., the same time as the night Ethan first saw the machine. Outside, the birds didn't sing. The forest was completely still. Then, as Ethan was fixing the door, Lily called out suddenly. He's here. Ethan rushed to her. Who's here? She smiled softly. Eric. Before Ethan could answer, the air around them shimmered. The walls of the cabin glowed faintly blue, and the floor vibrated. A voice, soft, distorted, and broken, echoed through the room. Lily. Ethan's heart stopped. It was Eric's voice. Lily reached her hands out into the air. I knew you'd find me. The light in the room thickened, forming faint shapes, like smoke trying to become a person. For a brief moment, Eric's silhouette appeared. His eyes glowed dimly, his body transparent like glass. Lily. His voice whispered. I can't stay long. Ethan stepped closer, stunned. How is this possible? Eric turned to him, his expression distant but kind. When my body broke apart, my frequency connected to hers. She pulled me back. Lily smiled through tears. I told you I could feel you. Eric nodded weakly. But it's dangerous. The others, they're still searching. They can sense me through you. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we have to break the connection. Lily turned sharply. No. He'll disappear forever. Eric's form flickered. She's right, Ethan. If you cut the link, I'll fade into nothing. But if we don't act soon, they'll come back. And next time, they won't leave either of you alive. Ethan swallowed hard. So what do we do? Eric looked at Lily. There's one way to stop them. I can hide my signal inside her, seal myself within her mind. They'll never find us. Ethan stared at him. You mean, inside her head? Eric nodded. It won't hurt her. But it will change her. She'll hear more than before, see things through sound, through light. She'll become part of what I am. Lily whispered softly, if it means you stay with me, I'll do it. Lily, no. Ethan shouted. You don't know what that means. Eric's glowing hand reached out, hovering near her face. It's her choice. For a long moment, everything was silent. Then Lily reached out and placed her hand against his. I trust you, she said. Eric smiled sadly. You always did. The light between them flared suddenly, blinding. Ethan covered his eyes. When he looked again, Eric's form was gone, and Lily had collapsed to the floor. Lily! He cried, rushing to her side. Her pulse was weak, but steady. Then she opened her eyes. For the first time, her pupils glowed faint blue. She smiled faintly. I can see. Ethan froze. You can see. She nodded slowly, tears rolling down her cheeks. Not like before. I see through light and sound. Through him. Ethan's voice trembled. Through Eric. She turned her head toward the forest. He's inside me now. And he says, they're coming back. Outside, the air began to hum again. Morning came quietly, but the world no longer felt the same. Ethan watched his sister from across the cabin. She sat near the window again, sunlight glowing on her face, her eyes faintly blue like crystal water. Lily's head tilted slightly, listening to sounds that only she could hear. The air around her seemed alive, soft vibrations moving through the dust, the floor, even the wind. Ethan whispered, Are you feeling okay? She smiled faintly. I can see everything now, Ethan. Not with my eyes, but with light, with sound, with him. Eric. She nodded. He's quiet now, but I can feel his thoughts. They're gentle and scared. Scared of what? She turned her head slowly toward the sky. They're close. That night, the forest came alive again. The trees began to hum. A strange wind blew through the valley, carrying a metallic taste. Ethan stepped outside with a flashlight, but the light flickered and died. In the distance, he saw blue sparks flashing in the clouds. The same kind of light that came with Eric's ship. Lily, he shouted. They're here. She stepped outside barefoot, calm despite the storm building above. Her eyes glowed brighter, and the air around her shimmered like a shield. I know, she whispered. I can hear their voices. Ethan grabbed her arm. We have to hide. But she didn't move. If we run, they'll find us. Eric says, they can sense fear. Then her voice changed slightly, deeper, layered with another tone. Stay behind me, Ethan. He froze. That's not your voice. She looked at him, her eyes shining like twin stars. It's both of us now. The sky cracked open with thunder. 3 beams of blue light shot down from the clouds, hitting the ground like pillars. From each beam, tall silver figures emerged, same as before, but now faster, more powerful. Their movements were smooth and silent, like machines made of light. One of them spoke in a cold digital tone. Signal located. Hybrid entity detected. Retrieve and neutralize. Ethan backed away, terrified. Lily, what do we do? She closed her eyes and raised her hands. The ground trembled. A pulse of energy rippled outward, bending trees and knocking the aliens back. Her voice echoed with 2 tones, hers and Eric's together. You can't take me. I belong to both worlds now. The aliens regrouped quickly. Their leader raised a glowing spear. Then you will be erased. Ethan shouted, No, and ran forward, throwing a metal rod at the creature. It passed right through the alien's body like smoke. The leader turned toward Ethan, aiming its weapon. Before it could strike, Lily screamed, a piercing sound that shook the air. The light around her burst outward in rings of gold and blue, forming a sphere of pure energy. The alien's weapon shattered in its hand. Inside her mind, Eric's voice whispered, Lily, let me guide you. She nodded slightly. I'm not afraid anymore. The energy around her began to take shape, forming a glowing armor over her body. Thin lines of light traced across her arms and chest, like living circuits. Her hair lifted in the static air, and her eyes burned brighter. Ethan watched, speechless. His blind sister was turning into something beyond human. She raised her hand, and the air split open with lightning. The aliens staggered, their armor cracking under the pressure. One of them disintegrated into dust. But then, the leader changed form, its armor unfolded, revealing a massive, six-armed figure glowing red. You cannot protect the human shell forever, Eric, 47. Lily's voice deepened again. Then come and try. They clashed. The forest exploded with light and sound. Every hit sent shockwaves through the ground. Ethan was thrown backward, crashing into a tree. He watched helplessly as Lily fought, her movements graceful, otherworldly, almost terrifying. When the battle finally stopped, 2 aliens were gone. The leader was wounded but still standing. It looked at Lily and said, "You have become what you feared, the first of your kind." Then it vanished in a flash of red light. The storm faded. Silence returned. Ethan crawled toward Lily, breathing heavily. Her glowing armor slowly faded until she looked human again, but her eyes stayed bright. He held her shoulders. "Lily, are you okay?" She nodded weakly. "I think so, but I can still feel him inside me. Stronger now." Ethan looked around. "Are they gone for good?" She turned her head toward the sky. "No. That was just the hunters. The ones who made Eric. They're coming next." Ethan's stomach twisted. "Then we need to leave." Lily stood up slowly, her face calm but determined. "We can't run forever. Eric says there's a way to end this." "How?" Ethan asked. She looked into the dark forest, where faint blue lights flickered in the distance. "By going back to where it all began." The air ripped apart with light. The clouds twisted into spirals, and the ground shook beneath Ethan and Lily's feet. A silver craft appeared above them, massive and silent, its surface glowing like liquid metal. People in town screamed and ran. Car alarms wailed. The sky turned bright blue as the craft hovered, lowering beams of light that reached down to the earth. Ethan grabbed Lily's hand. "Run." But Lily didn't move. Her face turned upward, eyes blank but focused. "I can hear them," she whispered. "They're calling my name." "Lily, please," Ethan shouted, pulling her. But she stood still, calm in the chaos. From the light, figures began to descend. Tall, thin beings covered in silver armor that shimmered like glass. Their faces were featureless, smooth, with only faint glowing lines where eyes should be. They didn't walk, they floated above the ground. One of them raised its hand. The cube fragments in Ethan's pocket vibrated violently and flew into the air, reassembling themselves into a full cube again. The alien spoke in a low mechanical voice. "Subject Lily. You have been located. Do not resist." Ethan stepped in front of her. "You're not taking her." The being tilted its head, studying him. "Human interference is irrelevant. The resonance belongs to us." Before it could move closer, a sudden shockwave hit the ground, knocking everyone backward. A beam of gold light tore through the air, cutting across the blue. From that beam, Eric appeared. He landed hard, his body sparking with energy. His disguise was gone now, his silver skin fully exposed, his glowing blue eyes burning bright. He looked wounded, exhausted, but his voice was fierce. "You'll have to go through me first." The other beings turned toward him. "Unit Eric, 47. You have violated directive protocols. You are infected with emotion." Eric smirked weakly. "Maybe that's what makes me alive." With a flick of his hand, he unleashed a wave of energy that threw the aliens backward. The ground cracked, trees bent, and blue fire lit the air. Ethan grabbed Lily and pulled her behind an old truck, shielding her from the blast. Lily whispered, Ethan, it's him. I can feel him. Eric looked toward her. Even in the middle of the chaos, his gaze softened. Lily, don't listen to their voices. Only listen to mine. Lily clutched her head. The humming in her ears grew louder, painful. I can't stop it. They're inside my mind. One of the silver beings stepped forward, raising a hand toward her. Blue light shot from its palm, forming a ring around Lily. Eric shouted, "No!" He ran forward, pushing Ethan aside, and slammed his hands into the ground. The air exploded with light again. The beam shattered, and the alien fell back, its armor cracking open. Ethan stared in disbelief. Eric was fighting them all, alone. Every time he struck, his body flickered, his energy fading. He turned to Ethan. "Get her out of here. I can't hold them forever." Ethan hesitated. "You'll die." Eric smiled faintly. "Better me than her." Lily grabbed Ethan's hand. "No. I won't leave him." The alien leader's voice boomed through the air. "Emotion has corrupted the unit. Eliminate and retrieve both subjects." A burst of blue energy shot toward them. Eric jumped in front of it, taking the full blast. The impact sent him crashing through a wall. His body sparked, his veins glowing bright white. "Eric!" Lily screamed, breaking free from Ethan's grip. She stumbled toward the light, following the faint sound of his voice. "Lily, stop!" Ethan called, but she kept moving, her face wet with tears. Eric tried to stand, his body shaking. "Lily, please, stay back." But she reached him, kneeling beside him, her hands trembling. She touched his face gently, and for the first time, he smiled. "I told you," she whispered. "I can feel you, not what you look like." His glowing eyes softened. "You see me better than anyone ever has." Behind them, the alien soldiers regrouped, raising their hands again. Blue light gathered around them like a storm. Eric turned to Lily, desperate. "If they take you, they'll erase what makes you human. Promise me you'll fight." She nodded through tears. "Not without you." Ethan ran forward, shouting, "They're charging again." Eric stood, staggering. He looked at both of them, one human who hated him, one who loved him. "Then I'll give you a chance to run." Before anyone could react, Eric reached out and pressed his palm against the ground. The light around him exploded outward in a blinding wave. The aliens screamed as their forms flickered and disintegrated. The sky turned white. Ethan shielded Lily, holding her tight as the shockwave rolled over them. When the light finally faded, the air was silent again. The aliens were gone. The ship in the sky flickered and vanished. And Eric was lying motionless on the ground. Lily crawled to him, sobbing. "Eric, please, say something." He opened his eyes weakly, light fading from them. "You're safe now," he whispered. "That's all that matters." Lily shook her head. "No. I can still hear your sound. You're not gone." Ethan knelt beside her, watching in silence. Eric smiled faintly. "Maybe, in another frequency." And with that, his body dissolved into tiny specks of light, floating up into the sky until nothing was left but silence. Lily pressed her hands to her heart, whispering, "I can still hear you." But in the distance, high above the clouds, faint blue lights began to shimmer again, watching, waiting.